In the wake of protests against systemic racism in America, many industries are re-examining past practices and facing questions about their own racial biases. One new effort puts a spotlight on the world of publishing. Here's Jeffrey Brown's Race Matters report that's part of our ongoing arts and culture series, Canvas.
It began as a social media call-out, #PublishingPaidMe, a request for authors to reveal the advances they'd been paid for their books. The result, based on responses from hundreds of writers, a clear disparity between Black and non-Black authors. The hashtag was started by L.L. McKinney, a writer of fantasy novels for young adults.
This advance has a lot to do with how well the publisher thinks the story will do. And a lot of that has to do with, this idea of a universal story. If a story is more universal, then more people will have access to it. And this highlights what publishing views as the default for the universal story.
The call-out struck a nerve, and many prominent Black authors weighed in, including novelist Jesmyn Ward, who wrote of how she fought and fought for a $100,000 advance for her third novel, Sing Unburied Sing, even after her second, Salvage the Bones, for which she received about $20,000, had won the National Book Award for fiction. By contrast, Linda Kiesling, who is white, wrote of receiving a $200,000 advance for her literary debut. N.K. Jemisin, a Black novelist who won the Hugo Award, recognizing the best science fiction and fantasy writing 3 years in a row, said she received just $25,000 advances for each of the books in her award-winning Broken Earth trilogy.
You have an award-winning author who is beloved by so many, right on up to presidents picking up her book, versus some people who we've never heard of because the book doesn't earn out or it flops. But then that person can turn around and get that same advance at a second chance.
The outpouring on Twitter confirmed many suspicions.
I knew that there was a disparity. I didn't realize how large the disparity was. Like, we knew it was there and we knew it was big, but we didn't know it was that big.
A new novel by Jeanine Cummins has opened up a debate about white privilege, racism in publishing, and the unintended consequences of telling a story that is not your own.
Earlier this year, the publishing industry came under fire over issues of pay and representation for the novel American Dirt, a story of Mexican migrants written by a non-Mexican author, Jeanine Cummins, who reportedly received a 7-figure advance. Some prominent Latino writers found the story inauthentic, advancing harmful stereotypes. For L.L. McKinney, all these issues are personal.
I was a kid who loved science fiction and fantasy, but science fiction and fantasy did not love me back. If I was on the page, I was the sassy best friend, or I was the enemy, or I was the help, or I was the gangbanger. As a child, I didn't have the vocabulary to articulate what I was seeing and feeling, but now that I do, that's what I want to change for the readers of today and the readers of the future.
Also now thinking of those readers, Dana Canedy, newly appointed publisher of Simon & Schuster. A former New York Times journalist and more recently administrator of the Pulitzer Prizes, she becomes the first Black person to head a major publishing house. Dana Canedy joins me now from New York. Dana Canedy, welcome to you. So let's start with that #PublishingPaidMe. It put a spotlight on Black writers being paid less and therefore a sense of being valued less. Now, I know you're new to this industry, but what do you see? How do you respond to something like that?
Well, I think it's going to be my job to make sure that doesn't happen at Simon & Schuster, and hopefully to be able to influence the larger publishing community as well. There's no excuse for that. And I wouldn't have stood for it when I was writing my book. Thankfully, that didn't happen to me. But as a leader in this industry now, I want to hear from folks who've had those experiences and figure out how we can solve it.
Many cultural institutions, of course, are now re-examining themselves in light of the Black Lives Matter protests. In what specific ways publishing has long been seen as an insular and largely white in its makeup as an industry? In what specific ways do you think it should look at itself and change?
It's very funny to me when people say that publishing, fits that sort of MO because you could be talking about law or really sort of any other industry. I think um, uh, industries in general need to look at themselves, publishing included. And I, for many years, headed up diversity and inclusion initiatives at the New York Times as part of my portfolio as a senior manager there, a senior newsroom leader. And so I have a lot of tools in my tool chest that I can call upon. But I think for Simon & Schuster specifically, I don't have the answers yet. I need to start the job, get in there, roll up my sleeves, and see what they're doing and where there are opportunities for growth. So one thing anybody who works with me knows is I'm very honest, and I'm not going to pretend to have answers that I don't. So I will get in there, we talk to the staff, talk to the leadership, and figure out where we go. We will have, and they may already, but we will have a comprehensive approach to diversity of all kinds. I just need to get into the company and figure out where we need to go. And then I don't think it's enough as a leader in this industry who happens to be a person of color to just look at Simon & Schuster. I want to influence the entire publishing community. It's a little early to answer how, but I will. And you can check back with me in a year and hold me accountable.
Okay, I hope we'll get a chance to do that. But, I mentioned the debate around the novel American Dirt, and I wonder, you're a reader, you're a writer yourself. When you look at this, at the world of publishing, do you see a lack of opportunities for writers of color? Do you see a lack of voices being heard?
So I think that's changed in recent years, and there's more opportunity than ever before historically, and not even in the very distant past that's been the case. I do think it's changing, and I think it will continue to because of the movement that's taken hold in this country. I also think that's where I'm going to have tremendous influence to bring in different voices, both established authors, but emerging voices that could be very important. We have a lot of work to do. We have to do it collectively. I'm one person in one company, but I think that there are some opportunities for leaders across publishing houses to put our heads together and figure out how we can influence this issue, how we can improve things related to both subject matter, pay equity for advances, the voices and the authors that get highlighted. All of that provides, in my view, an exciting opportunity to improve things, and I will do that. I will, as best I can.
I know we just have 30 seconds, but I read that your son calls you what? Word nerd. I know you love books, but why take this job? I mean, very briefly, what is it you hope to do, and why did you want it?
Well, I think it's a tremendous opportunity to work with somebody I admire greatly, Jonathan Karp, who's one of the best minds in the business. I wanted to work with him. I also think I can have influence in the ways you and I just discussed, and I will, and I intend to. But also, I'm a word nerd. I love words. So this is like a dream job.
All right. Dana Kennedy is the new publisher of Simon & Schuster. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.